What's up guys, it's Halloween.
Well, it was a week ago.
And could there be any other better way to celebrate the spooky season than to talk about some SpongeBob? I brought my good friend Sean here to talk about this spooky Bob.
Yeah, hi, that's me, and all you need to know is I've spent an unhealthy amount of time in my life thinking really deeply about this sponge, and so yeah, I think that qualifies me.
So back in 1999, the year the show first came out, they decided to come out with not one, but two Halloween episodes. There's the more famous one, Scaredy Pants. You know, I've come for your pickle. But the more interesting of the two would probably be its sister episode, I Was a Teenage Scary, which has a lot to talk about. And because of that, that's the episode we're going to be talking about here.
With that being said, let's get into it. Here's a quick synopsis. After Gary takes a full night at the Fete Ball, Patrick busts through SpongeBob's door to see if he's ready to go to the Jellyfishing convention in Ukulele Bottom that weekend. But oh no, he forgot, which means he's got no one to look after Gary, which means no Jellyfish! How sad.
As if on cue, guess who's knocking at the door? Squidward's there to complain about SpongeBob leaving his underwear on his lawn, implying he's a public nudist. Don't know why that bothers Squidward though. You're one too, Squiddy. No pants, no shoes, and no spare coochie.
But SpongeBob sees this as a perfect opportunity to ask Squidward if he wants to watch Gary.
Squidward so elegantly responds, "What's a Gary?" This is actually very important to the SpongeBob SquarePants timeline. Has consumed a tenth of my thoughts for the past 4 years now, as Squidward makes it very clear that he knows exactly who Gary is in later and even earlier episodes. So this is actually the first event in the Squiddy side of the timeline that revolves around the relationship between Squidward and Gary, because them first meeting is instrumental in laying down the groundwork for their ongoing interaction in the series.
Anyway, Squidward says no, but after hearing that SpongeBob will be gone for the whole weekend, Squidward uses his time manipulation abilities to actually say yes.
Doesn't mean he actually gives a damn. SpongeBob gives him some instructions like feed him, look at him. He's pretty much a cat, you get the idea. So the clown tells him he'll take good care of Fred, and the moment they leave, he sets out his lawn chair and gets a nice long suntan. And I do mean long, as in the first ever appearance of the time card, we're told that he actually sits out there for a full 3 days.
He looks the part too. Hearing the bus approaching, he realizes that his weekend of fun is sadly ending. But looking back at SpongeBob's house, he also realizes,
Oopsie whoopsie, ooh, we made a fucky wucky, a little...
Those are some pretty cool looking hats. But SpongeBob waves goodbye to Patrick and starts approaching the door. And things get pretty tense for Squidward in the seconds before he gets found out.
Squidward's got no way of getting Gary to eat his food, so desperately, he devours the thing a whole like a bunch of cheeseburgers. Then, SpongeBob comes in and sees Squidward there to check up on Gary, so he lets him know how great of a friend he is. How nice. Squidward's about to leave, then Gary slides in.
Hey, you know I haven't mentioned it up to this point, but Squidward's got some nice shorts, right? But yeah, he feels a bit guilty, so he sticks around and the vet gives him some snail plasma to make Gary feel a bit better. Oh, and this joke's pretty good.
Just as I thought.
What?
This is definitely a snail.
I knew it all, Squid! Did you hear that?
SpongeBob can't give Gary the plasma because he and the doctor are squeamish, so SpongeBob has to do it. But SpongeBob is too stupid to let him, so oops. While SpongeBob and Squidward are basically worrying about that, Gary goes to drink some water and boom, he's good as new, which means he probably didn't drink any water for 3 days. What a dick.
Squidward thinks so too when he goes home, telling SpongeBob he has nothing to worry about.
Afterwards, SpongeBob also eats Gary's food. Damn, that stuff must be really good, but not as good as some succulent, juicy cheeseburgers.
Yeah, that's shit good, isn't it?
Okay, let's get back to the best scene of the episode, the transformation.
His eyes grow out of his head, his limbs shrink into his body, probably his butt too, and after all is said and done, he tilts his eyes up and says, meow.
Anywho, we get back to Squidward laying with his pet, Clary, who he also didn't feed. What's wrong with this dude? Squidward is committing too many crimes in this episode, public nudity and animal cruelty. What a bastard. There's someone at the door, so he goes to answer it, and oh hell no, Sponge is a Gary now.
After screaming, guess what his first reaction is? He pokes him in the eye. What is wrong with you? He runs inside and blames the plasma. You did this, own up to it, cephalopod. But nah, it is kinda cool how this section is treated a bit like an old school horror movie, with Snail Bob popping in all over the place, Squidward panicking and blaming himself. Oh hey, you did own up to it, good on you.
Squidward then activates his spider powers or his tentacle powers to go up and down and all around, but his house just can't take it and it's destroyed, which actually happens pretty often.
We pan across the house, see Clary's revenge, and that was actually a really neat bit of foreshadowing, holy cow.
Anyway, they're all snails now, and they spend their nights sitting on fences singing sea shanties like Blow the Man Down, which, fun fact, has a similar melody to the SpongeBob theme song, so that's neat.
Patrick makes a cameo in this post-credit scene to throw a boot at Squidward, probably to tease the next movie, Patrick, War of the Snails. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that they screwed up the ending in more recent airings by cutting out Squidward's last meow. What's wrong with you, Nick?
Now that the episode's over, here's a few cool things. First, let's talk about the squid drip. At the start, Squidward's just wearing his standard brown outfit, no pants look, but after SpongeBob leaves, he puts on some blue shorts, which is pretty cool. He also wears some comfortable pink pajamas when he's in bed with Clary, and a purple robe when he answers the door for Snowbob. Though, the coolest bit of attire has to be these ties in his closet. The first one has hearts in it, but the other one has some cool rubber duckies. I want it. He ends this episode with this cool, probably $10,000 shell. Even as doesn't know, he's still gotta have something fancy to put on his back.
Another interesting thing is the episode actually references the 1957 movie I Was a Teenage Werewolf in its title. If you're wondering if they have anything in common, no. Okay, that's a lie. In both, the character has a supernatural transformation, but in Teenage Werewolf, the werewolf just kind of phases in. There's also a scene where the transformed character chases down the regular character. I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, and something you might have actually heard of was the rumor of there being a deleted scene of Squidward's transformation that appeared in the original airing back in 1999. This was supported by there being a pretty unique screen-wide translation as opposed to the more regular bubble one, as well as many people collectively seeming to remember seeing it on TV when they were kids in a Mandela effect kind of way. There are many ways that this has been debunked though, with the main two being a tape of the original airing being uploaded to YouTube by 90s Give Me Goosebumps in 2016, and Vincent Waller, the current showrunner since 2015, confirming that the scene was never even drawn. Although the rumor wasn't real, if you still want to see it, LMSAtoons on YouTube actually recreated it twice. Both will be linked in the description if you want to give them a watch.
Before our last thing, I got a theory. I think Gary was behind everything. Think about it. In other episodes, Gary is shown to be very capable. He can tie his own shoes, but even beyond that, it's shown that all he needed to feel better was a drink of water. And don't think he just didn't realize or something. This snail is smart. In the episode Sleepy Time, we see that while he lacks the ability to speak, his mind is full of more thoughts than the average person. And then in the episode Gary Takes a Bath, he demonstrates just how cunning and resourceful he truly is through tricking SpongeBob into getting himself dirty. Now here's what I think the plan was. Gary can probably take care of himself if he really needed to, but what he wanted was a snail posse. And once he learned about the effects of snail plasma, he devised a scheme with a purple doctorfish, who the official SpongeBob YouTube channel has theorized is actually veterinarian Gil Gillian in disguise, to give himself the trio he desired. And here's where the execution comes in. The extra time he took to fetch that ball was actually used to place SpongeBob's underwear on Squidward's lawn, and he probably used the days before the episode to remove the jellyfishing convention from SpongeBob's calendar so he'd forget, allowing all pieces to fall into place for Squidward to be the one to sit him.
Gary clearly knew Squidward would be neglectful, giving him the perfect excuse to not only get sick, but to also have Squidward be there to treat him. SpongeBob's actions after this were pretty predictable, so Gary knew that once SpongeBob got injected, the rest of his plan would go off without a hitch.
Just as a send-off, one more interesting thing. This episode is actually quite rare to appear on TV, since it only really airs in October due to it being paired with the Halloween episode. October is over though, so go buy a DVD. Thanks, bye.